Yeah, let's just talk about these late-breaking stories. 2 weeks ago, there's a story that broke out of the University of Mississippi. They broke on social network. It went haywire. Allegations that a co-ed at the University of Mississippi was dating a fraternity member, left the fraternity member, and had a relationship with his father. That story was on social media and it exploded. It wasn't true. None of it was true. Pat McAfee from ESPN, who started the world in podcasts and then has become an ESPN mouth, talking head, if you will, he brought it up on his show. He and his cast of characters, the posse, the round table, they talked about it as if it were fact, and they mocked the woman that created all this issue. And then other social media platforms picked up on what McAfee said. Then it became a thing globally. And this woman started to get harassed. People were able to access her personal emails, cell phones, harass her family back in Houston. And none of the story was true. She's hired lawyers to go after McAfee and to go after ESPN for allowing him to run unchecked. And this is Pat McAfee, who says things for effect. Whether or not he believes them or not, it's probably another discussion for another day. He's the one who just turned around and insulted Caitlin Clark. What do you call her? A white bitch. In the aftermath of her great run in the college basketball and the impact she had WNBA, he called her a white bitch. You got to be kidding me. And where's the responsibility? Where's the intelligence? Just to do things, to say things, to get a look, to get a response. I think it's just a terrible story. He's got problems on his hands. ESPN's got problems on his hands because of what's happened to this innocent freshman sorority member at the University of Mississippi in a story that was not true at all. Just, to me, it's a terrible, terrible setback. Next story, LIV golf. Brooks Koepka. We heard about a month ago, he was dropping hints that he wanted to leave and he wanted to come home. He didn't like, quote, being off the radar. Now he's gone public and he said, I thought in year 4, LIV golf would be a lot farther along. Nobody is watching it. Nobody in the States. They played in Doral this past weekend. Nobody's watching it in Florida. Nobody's watching it on TV. They're playing in the jet-setting far outpost to Singapore or Hong Kong. Nobody's going to the tournaments. And he just laid into Greg Norman that this whole idea of the team concept in golf just does not work at all. And he continues to talk about the fact he'd sure like to come back to the PGA Tour. Not saying it directly, but here we are, 4th year, nobody's paying any attention to LIV golf. Third item, how about SDFC? San Diego Football Club, MLS Soccer, shutout Seattle. Chucky Lozano, goal, 2 assists, dominated the game. Very impressive performance. SDFC, 4-1-2. 4 wins, 1 loss, 2 ties, first 7 matches of the season. This is just astounding how this team has come together. Next one, that's Sacramento State's logo. This story has not gotten a lot of play. Sacramento State on Friday filed a letter of waiver with the NCAA, John. They've asked to be allowed to go from Division I AA status in the Big Sky Conference a year from now and become a Division I independent. There's a massive drive putting together big boosters, hiring name coaches like Mike Bibby, the former NBA Stars of basketball coach, to build Sac State into a true Division I program, football and basketball. Now, they've dropped hints they'd like to go to the Pac-12. That's not going to happen because there is no history, there is no legacy, there's no big support, but they have the backers now. But what they want is permission to waive the 4-year waiting period, allow them to be true Division I a year from now, compete as an independent and try to work their way in. I do think eventually they're probably going to wind up in the Mountain West Conference. And the last one's got to do with IndyCar racing. You know, we got the beginning of Formula One, which talked about extensively. We talked about NASCAR. IndyCar's only run 2 events so far. Their schedule is kind of scattergun very early till we get to the month of May and all things Indianapolis. They run a race. The second race of the year is called the Thermal Grand Prix. It's based out of Palm Springs. on the desert race course. It's kind of a cool track, but they're thinking of yanking it because nobody's going to the races. They had less than 3,000. Their TV ratings are terrible. They had a power failure 2 weeks ago that wiped out a chunk of the telecast. They're thinking about just giving up on the Thermal Grand Prix. Now, they're going to run a week from now in the Long Beach Grand Prix, which is very successful, celebrating, I think it's 25th anniversary. At the end of the day, Indycar's schedule's kind of scattergunned right now. They're going to have to do something from a creative standpoint, I really think, to get back on the map and be a full-time racing circuit rather than just be in the month of May when nobody pays any attention to anything else. So, John, podium belongs to you to talk about Pat McAfee, Koepka, soccer, Sacramento State, and the Thermal Grand Prix in Palm Springs. Go ahead.
I am so thrilled about San Diego FC, and they're a lot of fun to watch. And like I said, I'm kind of learning more of the personalities out there. The Seattle Sounders have been a pretty solid program there in the MLS. I know that's a name that goes way back. I mean, so that's a big win for the team.
I concur with you wholeheartedly. The collection of players they've put together, and they've had injuries. I mean, they've been down two of their top scorers in the first month of the season already, and yet to sit there with just one setback in 7 matches, pretty impressive. What Mickey Veras has done in terms of this is what we're going to run. These are the players we're going to go get from abroad to bring them here. It has really, really been impressive, and obviously San Diego soccer fan has really turned out.
Yeah, and then Chucky Lozano got his first goal, and I remember the announcers were saying that Chucky does well in traffic. And the way that I interpreted that is that he has the skill to move the ball, when it's really close to him, so and you can see that when you watch like English Premier League players, the way they control and manage that ball is a higher skill level than what we'll see average in the MLS.
Well, I think that one thing about Chucky is he is really physical and he's fast. He's got an extra gear and he's tough to control. I mean, he does dominate with the ball, and obviously with Anders Dryers and some of the other players they've got, they are converting passes, but he's tough to dislodge from the soccer ball. So I've been so impressed with what they've done out of the gate so far.
Yeah, it's great, and then good on Sac State. I wish them well. Hopefully they can go D1. I think that's good for Sacramento. But this ESPN story, I mean, obviously it's a tragic thing. You don't want to be spreading fake news, particularly if it's a false allegation. But as you were describing the story, it reminded me, wasn't there like a number of years ago, there was a kid that played running back at USC and there were false allegations to him. And I think he went to prison.
Yeah. There have been a lot of different things about a lot of different people, but in this common day, please explain to me, what is the reference point for Pat McAfee in terms of reliable information and responsibility in a public forum? That's the thing that just absolutely blows my mind, because the minute he said it, and he's got tremendous following based on what he started as a podcast and what he's doing on ESPN, the minute some of that stuff comes out, it goes on other social media platforms and it just goes haywire. And it's been a monstrous problem for this family. And I think McAfee's in big trouble. I think ESPN's in big trouble because he's their employee. Even though you don't control what the guy says, if he's going to be irresponsible, he's going to put your business in jeopardy. So we've not heard the end of the story involving this co-ed at the University of Mississippi.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, and by the way, I had no idea IndyCar had races out in the Palm Desert. I mean, that probably is a big part of explaining why they had such a really small crowd.
Exactly. I mean, the trackside temperature was 120 degrees, and that was 2 weeks ago. It's a fascinating course, but I don't know if it's at the right time of the calendar. It surely can't be any later. If it's at the end of the year, it's still pretty warm there, but they're struggling to find spots to hold their races. And, they go a month without a race on the schedule until they get to the month of May. So it's just not a good scenario. Penske runs IndyCar. They've got to do more creative thinking as to where to put their races, et cetera. Because, we don't have a lot of tracks now in Southern California with the folding of Fontana Speedway and the fact that the things are going to be torn down and then rebuilt, and NASCAR is not committed to go back there. So at the end of the day, we don't have a lot of places to have IndyCar races. And right now they're kind of third in the pecking order behind popularity, behind the good old boys in NASCAR, and obviously the arrival of all things Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and Formula One. Okay, those are topics on the table.